All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Once again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's Upskill Prize for the Solar Manufacturing Workforce Round 2 Informational Webinar. My name is Jackie Petrie. I'm on the NREL team supporting the Upskill Prize. And before we get started, I want to go over just a few quick housekeeping items. If at any point you're having audio difficulties today, you can change your settings by navigating to the audio settings, likely in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You can also send me a chat and I will try to help you work through those. But we are recording today's meeting and we will be posting the recording as well as a copy of the slides on HeroX in the next day or so. If at any point you have questions during today's presentation, feel free to put those in the Q&A tab. We ask that you try to put those in the Q&A tab instead of the chat, just so we don't lose track of them. And we'll get through as many questions as we can at the end of today's presentation. So with that, I will hand things over to Rebecca Bennett, prize lead for the Upskill Prize at NREL.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. Welcome, everyone. I think I see some familiar names and some new names as well. So we're excited to have you all back for round 2 of the Upskill Prize for the Solar Manufacturing Workforce. Today we're going to cover a couple different things. A lot of this will look the same to those of you who attended our last webinar, but we do have a couple new things that we want to go over as well. But this is just to keep you all prepared and ready for the submission deadline that is coming up in November. We'll talk about the overview of the prize, general goals, the timeline that we're looking at for round 2. We'll go over the background of the prize. I'll cover the prize submission requirements. I'll demo HeroX, and then we hope to have time for questions at the end. So if you are unfamiliar, American Made is a program of prize challenges that aim to fast track your innovations on towards the clean energy revolution. We incentivize innovation through prizes, training, teaming, and mentoring, really working to connect entrepreneurs and innovators to America's national labs and the private sector. And the Upskill Prize is one of about, I think, almost 80 prizes active right now. So just covering the timeline broadly, this is round 2. We did have round 1 close, and that we announced winners for in July. We announced 2 winners in round 1, and again, now we are in round 2. This is kind of the anticipated prize round timeline. Again, we're in round 2 now. This will go for about 4 to 6 months. The submission deadline is in November, and then we hope to announce probably in January for round 2. So the big thing we do want to cover this go around is we did have a rules update that came out in July when we announced winners. This included several changes to the rules. We will go over a lot of those changes today, but please review the official rules to review all of the modifications in full. While we do cover the majority of them in this webinar today, a lot of them are a little bit nitty-gritty, and definitely encourage you to go directly into the rules and look for everything. In the rules, all of these are highlighted for you, so you can very easily find them. We also have a table just to help quickly direct you to those changes in the official rules. But again, throughout this webinar, all of the significant round 2 modifications are highlighted in yellow, just to give you an idea of where they're at. And so to kick us off with the Upskill Prize overview, we do have 2 representatives from the Department of Energy, and I'm going to pass it over to Tim.
And thanks, Rebecca. We can go to the next slide. As she said, I'm a contractor for the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Energy Technologies Office. We sponsored this prize, and we're glad to be offering round 2 of the American-made Upskill Prize. Upskill is a $5 million prize designed to accelerate the historic expansion of the U.S. solar module manufacturing supply chain workforce, as well as equip workers with the skills needed to grow the U.S. solar manufacturing industry. The ultimate goal of the prize is for U.S. manufacturers to work with training organizations to develop and execute workforce training plans based on the specific needs of the manufacturer. This prize is intended to supplement but not replace manufacturer workforce training plans and budgets, and it may be applied to workforce training for new or existing manufacturing facilities. The prize focuses specifically on workforce training in the module supply chain. We're anticipating opening a new round of the prize every 4 to 6 months until the prize pool of $5 million is depleted. We can go to the next slide. For a little bit of background on the prize, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed in 2002, has definitely provided a boost to American solar manufacturing with substantial investments, as you can see in the chart on the right there. Since IRA was passed, there have been numerous announcements across the solar PV supply chain for planned domestic manufacturing capacity additions, including approximately 143 gigawatts of module manufacturing, and over 150 gigawatts for other PV supply chain segments. And that represents more than $14 billion, excuse me, of total investment. If you'd like further information on active manufacturing options, you can see those on CETO's Solar Manufacturing Act. However, we've heard from manufacturers in the industry at large that the U.S. solar manufacturing workforce does lack access to trained labor, which hinders some of the expansion of the industry as a whole. In particular, unlike balance of systems or other parts of the solar systems, the PV supply chain has workforce development needs, the need for specific skills that aren't found in other industries. And that includes polysilicon, ingot, wafer cell, and module components like glass. Manufacture of those products in the supply chain require some non-transferable skills. And we've also heard that skills are needed up and down the manufacturing employment chain, from line workers all the way up to, engineers and designers and plant managers. So as a result, we've put together this prize, hoping to spur partnership and investment in training plans for those workers. We can go to the next slide. The goal of the American-made Upskill Prize is to fill the workforce gaps necessary to strengthen the U.S. solar module supply chain and also to attract new individuals to enter that clean energy workforce. In particular, we are focused on partnerships between PV manufacturers and training organizations, which we define pretty broadly. That could be community colleges, labor groups, other consulting organizations, in some cases, equipment suppliers. We want those partnerships to accelerate the growth and expansion of the U.S. solar module supply chain. Additionally, we're hoping that these training plans and the overall onboarding and worker development strategies of these manufacturers will help to address not only their own workforce challenges and opportunities, but also create family-sustaining careers, revitalize communities, and advance equity for historically underserved communities. That's an overview of the prize. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jen, to explain a little bit more about the details of the structure of the prize.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim. And hello, everyone. My name is Jen DiStefano. I am also a contractor and technology advisor to the U.S. Department of Energy's Solar Office, and am also leading this prize from the DOE side. So to dive into the details a little bit more on what this prize is and how it's structured, those teams of manufacturers and training organizations that Tim talked about will work together through this prize and through the application to propose a workforce training plan. And to be clear here, by training organization, this can be very broadly defined in our view, where the training organization could be a community college, a union, or even an equipment manufacturer. It's really more about the role that they play in providing that specialized training. So it could also be, an equipment manufacturer that provides very specialized equipment training. And the prize is really designed to be flexible based on the needs of the manufacturer and what training partner makes the most sense for them. So this prize team can consist of more than 2 organizations, and I'll have an example of what that might look like in a minute. And the payment can be split up to 3 ways. So in terms of the content of what that training plan is that is developed by the team, it can focus either on training incumbent workers or recruiting and training new workers, or both. So again, very open and flexible based on the needs of the manufacturer. So if we go to the next slide, we can see a few examples of what these partnerships might look like. So the partnerships that are developed as part of this prize can take various shapes depending on the training needs and the capabilities of the training organizations. So depending on the details of the partnership, that's then how the members of that prize team would propose how to split the prize if they were awarded a prize. Excuse me. So for example, a new cell facility could work with, say, a community college to hire and train new operators, where in that case, the manufacturer would focus on the hiring and the community college would focus on the training, and then the two of them would split the prize amount. Or you could imagine a university maybe offers a solar technology or manufacturing course to existing employees at a manufacturing facility, where in that case, probably most of the prize award would go to the university for offering that training. Or that example I mentioned about a three-part team is possible. You could imagine a solar glass manufacturer, for instance, offering a new hire certification program through a training center. Then they also might want to provide specialized equipment training through a manufacturing equipment vendor who could then be considered the training organization in that example. So in that case, then the cash prize would be split between all three organizations if awarded. So in terms of the eligibility and the specifics on what do we mean by manufacturer, US-based manufacturer, et cetera, I will say all of that is very detailed in the rules, but here is a snapshot. So the competition is open to private entities, non-federal government entities, and academic institutions. The team must be led either by a US-based PV manufacturer or a US-based training organization. Either can lead depending on what makes most sense for the workforce training plan proposed. So like Tim said, we are specifically looking for manufacturers in the PV module supply chain, such as those technologies that are listed in that blue box on the slide. If the manufacturer is the team lead, then a US-based manufacturers should partner with a training organization to execute that workforce training plan that meets the needs of the manufacturing facility. Or alternatively, the training organization could be the lead. And in that case, they would build their training plan with a specific US-based manufacturer who is their key partner and willing, able, and responsible for implementing that training program. So we really do want to see strong partnerships that are involved and have a lot of participation from both entities. So a letter of commitment is required by whichever team member is not the team lead. So if the team lead is the manufacturer, then the letter of commitment from the training partner is required and vice versa. Again, just really to show in your application that there is a strong, firm partnership there. Non-US based training organizations can participate as team members, and we understand there are some scenarios where that may be very desired. However, the prize payment must go to US-based team members. So just something to flag there. And the final item I want to flag on this slide is that highlighted section at the bottom. So this is a new clarification for round 2 of the prize, stating that an organization can join multiple teams and multiple submissions for the prize if each team's submission has a distinct scope. So such as you're working at different facilities or their unique training programs that are being proposed. So I want to quickly go over some important dates. Next, so right now the prize is open. You can go onto HeroX and check out the application and all of the information you would need to submit for a full submission. The deadline to submit is November 20th at 5 p.m. So although this does seem a little ways away, we wanted to allow ample time for finding your partners for your team, et cetera. So I would say it's great you guys are already here attending this webinar, but please don't wait too long to get started and start identifying who your team might consist of. And then we do anticipate the final announcement for the round 2 winner or potential winners in January or February of 2025. And with that, I will pass it back to Rebecca.
All right, thank you, Jen. So I'm going to cover submission requirements and all of the materials that are part of the submission. So once again, pointing all of you to the rules. Again, we did release that rules modification. You've already seen one flag from it in the eligibility, and I'll go over a couple more that would affect applications moving forward. But again, throughout this webinar, I will point out and highlight the major modifications made. And all of the submission materials are outlined very clearly in the rules. While I may not go into depth on each particular item, they are all in the rules. So please, again, read the rules. So the prize steps. We just want to be sure you're aware of how the process works. So I'll go very briefly over the steps. For that submission, that is where you get together your team. You maybe you're the manufacturing facility or the training organization. Either way, you find your partner. You come together and you build that submission package and submit it online before that November 20th submission deadline. From there, it will be evaluated by external expert reviewers who have subject matter expertise in this area, both in the workforce area as well as manufacturing. And then all of this does go through the Department of Energy and is reviewed by a selection official in the Solar Energy Technologies Office. Uh, from there, we announce winners. And if you are not selected, we like to highlight the resubmission aspect. So teams that aren't selected as winners, you are given your feedback from that package, both from the expert reviewers and DOE, and you can resubmit in a following cycle. Additionally, winning teams, if you are selected, you can also apply in a future round, but you have to answer an additional question in the technical narrative, and I'll cover that shortly. So what to submit? There is a rather lengthy submission form on HeroX, which is why we do encourage you to go into that submission platform early so that you can see all of the different requirements that you need to complete. Some of that information is listed here. The big one, team information. These are all fields within the submission form. Certain elements will be made public. We do try to make that super clear on the submission form so you know what is public and what is private. You'll be asked to give a declaration of other funding you've received from state, local governments, or other grants or prizes. And then, of course, the technical narrative, that is the biggest component of the submission package. I'll cover the details later. There's also a summary PowerPoint slide. This is a public piece that people can view your submission and just kind of get an idea, a snapshot of what you're doing. Those letters of commitment or support, these are required to make sure that it's clear that you have actually talked to your partner, just as Jen outlined previously. So if you're that manufacturing organization, you need to be sure that you have a letter of commitment from a training organization to show that you have a training organization partner, and then vice versa. Additionally, there is supporting documentation that you can also add on. So the team information, these are all of the different things that we'll ask for on the submission form. All the public items are marked with that asterisk, and they are also listed as public on the submission form when you're completing it. I want to point out a new one. This is just for ultimate clarity in the submission package that you list the requested funding from the prize up to but not exceeding $500,000. So everybody's plan and budgets look a little bit different. Some people aren't requesting the full 500, some people are, but we just want to be sure we have ultimate clarity on the exact number of requested funding that you're asking for with your plan. And from there, we go into the technical narrative. So the technical narrative is 4 questions that you need to answer in up to 3,000 words. Do not exceed the word limit, as reviewers are not required to read past 3,000 words. You can see here that 2 of these questions are highlighted. These are highlighted because we have changed the questions or provided additional clarity on these questions. The first question is the same. It is details on the manufacturing facility, job quality, and impact. So you're answering the question, what type of manufacturing organization will be receiving and implementing the training, and what are the long-term workforce development needs for this organization? The second question we have changed substantially. Please review the rules. I will also show it on our next slide, but you're going to give information on the specific workforce training plan by describing the workforce training plan for which the team is requesting prize funding, which would include the training partners, timeline, strategy, and budget. We've also made not quite as many changes, but a decent number of changes to the third question on workforce development strategy, which is what is your holistic strategy for workforce development and how does funding from the Upskill Prize fit into that strategy? And then the fourth question has not changed, and that is workforce diversity and support of disadvantaged communities. How does this training program support low income and disadvantaged communities? And so in the rules, this is how we have it outlined. Again, this is question 2. All of this has changed, so please review by referring to those rules. All of this is new information. A lot of it is very similar, but it has changed enough that we encourage you all to review it closely. But it gives you all of the suggested content for you to provide in your package. And then it also gives you the scoring criteria. Again, both the what we suggest you provide and the scoring criteria has been updated. So please review these thoroughly and make sure you understand the changes. I am not going to walk through all of these new requirements, but we do want to emphasize that this section in particular has changed. Additionally, and I'm not going to pull question 3 up onto the slide deck, but make sure you refer to question 3 in the rules as well, as much of that one has changed. And so if you are a previous winner and you're looking to apply again, you have to answer this 5th question in addition to the other 4 questions. Your word limit does increase by 1,000 words if you're a previous winner and you're answering what was the impact of your previous training program and how will an additional prize award impact your continued efforts. This again is outlined in the official rules, and you only have to answer this 5th question if you are a previous winner. So we do want to cover some tips for successful application. Since we've had one successful round of the Upskill Prize, we just want to be super clear, and a lot of these tips are also reflected in our modifications. So once again, I'm repeating myself a lot, but read the rules. Make sure you are aware of the round 2 modifications. All of these other tips are in regards to, what you should talk about in your application. And I'll let Jen and Tim jump in here if they want to. But one of the things that we would recommend is that you clearly identify whether prize-funded training will support incumbent or new workers. And if it's going to support both, explain the differences in this approach and what that might involve. So recruitment and onboarding of new workers versus retention of those incumbent workers is just an example. And be specific about the training proposed through this prize. We want to see details like who is being trained, what are they being trained on, length of the training, who is conducting the training, will it be in person, will employees be compensated during the training, and has your company previously offered it, those kinds of things. Additionally, please clearly explain how the specific training plan submitted for this prize fits into the overall workforce development strategy of the manufacturer. So that's your link between questions 2 and 3. And for question 4 of that narrative, while we didn't make a bunch of changes to it in our modification, make sure you explain how the specific proposed training, not just your general company HR policies, supports workforce diversity and disadvantaged communities. We really are looking for specifics here. Additionally, be sure to include a detailed budget for training activities you are proposing. That could be labor hours, materials allocations, etc., and make it clear how the company is investing in their own workforce outside of this prize. Jen or Tim, anything you want to add here?
No, I think you covered it well. Thank you, Rebecca.
All right. Moving along, summary PowerPoint slide. So again, this is that like quick snapshot of your team and organization and kind of your mission. We do have an optional template now available on HeroX. You are not required to use this, but you can just to make sure you're getting the information that we're looking for into that summary slide. Once again, the letters of commitment, we've touched on this a little bit, but depending on whether you are the US-based manufacturer or you're the US-based training organization, you do need a letter of commitment from that partner, whether that's the manufacturer or training organization, depending on what you are, to show that you are committed to this partnership. So US-based manufacturers, the training organization should show that they are working to execute a comprehensive workforce training program that meets the needs of the manufacturing facility, and training organizations should build that program with a specific US-based manufacturer as a key partner who is willing, able, and responsible for implementing the training program to expand and advance the diverse workforce. You are also welcome, of course, to have additional letters of support. That can be from all kinds of different people. We don't have any limits, and those are optional, but the letter of commitment from each team member is required. Additionally, there is supporting documentation. This can be to support the narrative discussion. We list what this could include in the official rules. This can be up to 15 pages, but must be in a single PDF. And I do just want to touch on how the review process works. Once again, the submissions are scored by a panel of experts. Reviewers score each section on a scale of 1 to 6, depending on the degree to which they agree that the submission reflects the statements for consideration. Those get added together to generate a total score, and then it is averaged to produce a final score, which informs the selection official's decision. There's always possibility DOE may decide to interview a subset of competitors, but that is not an indication of a competitor winning. And the final determination of the winners by the judge, aka the DOE selection official, will take into account the reviewer's feedback and scores, the program policy factors, which are listed in the rules, and any interview findings if applicable. And so now I'll give a brief HeroX demonstration. So this is just our submission platform. So this is what it looks like when you go to herox.com/ the Upskill Prize. This is what you'll see. If you are just looking to follow the prize, you can click that follow button. You will be asked to provide an email if you don't already have an HeroX account, but you will follow the prize, and that means you will receive all of the updates that we put out. If you don't follow the prize, any updates that are made publicly do appear under the Updates tab. If, of course, you are interested in actually competing, there are a lot of useful things that you can find on the HeroX page. Under the Summary tab, we cover the general overview, who can compete, so the eligibility, important dates, and general guidelines. We have the timeline to help you keep track of all of the important dates, so that submission deadline of November 20th, 2024, and then our anticipated round 2 announcement. There is a forum here. We will put all questions received into this forum, so you can refer back here to any questions that you may have missed or need a refresher on. Additionally, all the questions we received in March are listed under here, and if you have any questions, you can post a topic here and we will respond. Under the Teams tab, this just shows the teams. It also shows the round 1 winners. Entries, you can see all of the entries we've received previously. This is only the public-facing materials that you will be able to see. And then, of course, the resources. So these are all of the resources you may need to complete the submission package. So we have the summary slide template, the informational webinar recording and slides from March. We will update this to include the ones from today. We have the official rules for round 2, kind of to give you instructions on how to register on HeroX. You can find that as well. And then our FAQ is just general questions. And if you're actually interested in joining the challenge, you'll click Solve this challenge, which will take you to a sign-in. Obviously, you can sign in however you want. You can also create your account down there. So I am already following the prize, and I believe I have already started an entry. So you'll be able to click Begin Entry. This one I am submitting as a team, and here you'll see all of the different submission requirements. As I mentioned earlier, it is a rather lengthy submission. So you have your eligibility section, the submission package, and then all of the team information, which again is a fairly lengthy section. The partner organization information. So again, you can have up to 2 partners. And so you don't need to fill in both, but you definitely need to fill in at least one for that lead organization. And then down here under payment, so section 8, this is where you'll list the official legal name of the organizations that could receive payment if selected. You'll also put in the prize amount percentage. So you'll be listing how much money you're requesting for your submission, and then down here, you will list the percentage of that amount for each entity. And again, you can split your payment up to 3 ways. You are not required to split it up to 3 ways. You only need to have at least one payment recipient. And then, of course, we have voluntary self-identification questions. These are not required and are totally up to you to complete. All right, and we'll jump back into our slides. So you can get support for your submission. We have a power connector, ADL Ventures. They have been working, they worked on this prize through round 1. Several of you likely have a relationship with them. You worked on your round 1 submission with them, or perhaps you were just engaging with them to learn about the prize and are hoping to submit for round 2. Either way, ADL Ventures is available to any competitor in the Upskill Prize. They do have a focus on matchmaking and, of course, supporting the development of diverse workforce and quality jobs plans. They can provide application support, again, teaming, matchmaking, if you need help finding that partner. They are conducting recruiting for the prize in general, and they can answer any general questions that you may have. We do have their contacts all over our HeroX page as well as on this slide. And in case you are unaware, Power Connectors, they are part of the American Made Network, and they are organizations who are contracted yearly to perform a variety of tasks under our prizes to advance the program's success. And I'll just mention the support that they are providing to you is free, as they are subcontracted with us. So we want them to be able to assist you, and that's why we pull them into this project. So I'll just flash up the important dates again. You can follow the Upskill Prize. You can check out that submission form. I will note on that submission form on HeroX, you can start it and save it at any point in time. If you do click submit, you can pull it out of the queue if you need to update it up until that submission deadline, November 20th at 5 p.m. Make sure your submission is actually submitted and not just saved. If you've been working on it, we do not see anything that's just hanging out in the queue. So it needs to be fully submitted for us to see it on our end. So get that in by November 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And once again, we hope to announce winners for round 2 in January or February. And round 3 is anticipated to launch early 2025, pending funding availability. And again, you will get all of these slides, and so you'll easily be able to access these, but you can follow the challenge on HeroX. There again is the link to the rules. If you want to send us questions, our email is there. You can also get support from ADL Ventures. So start working and get it submitted by November 20th. And so now we have time for a Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. All right, just going over to our Q&A tab. And again, if you have questions, make sure you're putting them there. I know Jen and Tim are going to be chiming in here too, so I'll just start going through the questions, and as you guys want to answer them, feel free. We had a question that asks, does the prize also cover non-silicon PV manufacturing, such as perovskites, CAD-TEL, etc.?
Yes, is the answer to that question.
Great, thanks, Tim. All right. Can an individual only be a member of one team?
This was answered in the eligibility requirements. A manufacturer or someone can be a member of multiple teams, presuming there are separate scope questions, though NREL folks, it looks like there's a technical HeroX question associated with this one.
Yes, and related to HeroX, you it gets a little complicated on HeroX. You can technically only be a part of one official team on HeroX. I would encourage you to just email us if you're trying to participate on different teams. And I'll note, as our review works, we don't look at the teams that are built using the HeroX functionality, because we do allow people to be on multiple teams. So we look at what is listed on that submission form. So if you are the team lead on one team and the partner on another, or maybe you're a team lead on both, you may actually have to make 2 HeroX accounts to make it look the way you want on HeroX. But again, we refer to what is on that submission form, so your organization can be listed on multiple submissions.
Thanks, Rebecca. Can a solar-based installer and contractor be a main member of a team? Or sorry, a main member or team member?
A solar-based installer and or contractor would not qualify as a manufacturing organization based on the eligibility rules of the prize. If they were participating on a team, they would need to do so in the capacity as an education organization, as a training organization. And I guess it would depend on the specific training offered by that installer, whether they would qualify as eligible for the prize.
Thanks, Tim. Is there a sample of what a letter of commitment looks like?
Yeah, so I can take this one. Short answer is no, there is not a sample, but the purpose of the letter of commitment is really that it should be sufficient to indicate as strongly as possible the commitment of your partner to complete that proposed training program with you if you are awarded a prize. So, things like we want to see the signature, the date, things like that, to make it as strong as possible that, the reviewers have confidence that if you are awarded this prize, that training partner or manufacturer will definitely be on board and execute that work with you. Rebecca, anything to add there?
I think you covered it exactly.
Great. And going off of that, is a new letter of support required if a team submitted one during round 1, if they applied to round 1?
So I think, again, this goes back to, we encourage you to put together the strongest application package possible, where updating a potential letter of commitment might be something you would want to consider if you are reapplying, particularly if items change in the rest of the application package. We're of course happy to see people reapply and encourage everyone, including repeat applicants, to utilize the support of the power connectors that Rebecca mentioned in order to put together the strongest application possible. Rebecca, anything to add on that one?
Nope.
Great, thanks, Jen. Is recycling of PV materials in scope for the prize?
Broadly, a PV recycler would need to demonstrate how they qualify as a PV manufacturer as designated in the rules. So they would need to be not just recycling raw materials, but creating components in the supply chain for PV modules. So that including polysilicon ingot, wafer cell, or module construction. I think standard recycling without further conversion into a product would not qualify under the definition of a manufacturer for the prize.
Great, thanks, Tim. If you did not participate in round 1, can you participate in round 2?
You may.
Yes, absolutely. All right. How can we get or find reviewers' feedback on previous applications?
So we email all of the feedback back to the teams. This would go to the main contact listed on the original submission. If you did not receive your feedback, please email us and give us your team name and we can send that back to you. Email us at upskill.prize@nrel.gov.
I think Rebecca was going to type an answer to this, but I'll just quickly say we are going to be sending a recording and a copy of these slides to everyone. We'll be posting them on Teams. So again, make sure you're following, or sorry, on HeroX. Again, make sure you're following the prize on HeroX so you get an email notification letting you know that those have been posted in the next day or so. Those were all the questions we had so far. If anyone has any remaining questions, we have a little over 15 minutes left and are happy to answer anything else that comes up. Otherwise, we can hang out for a few minutes and see if anything else pops up. And if not, Rebecca, do you maybe want to reshare your slides and just show those important dates again, just as a final reminder for everyone?
Yes, I can get that. Maybe I can
While
get
you're
that up.
doing that, we had a question come in. Can you briefly describe the difference between the winning round 1 teams and other applicants? I don't know how much we can get into that, but Tim, Jen, do you want to, I don't know, do you want to say anything on
Sure.
that?
I mean, yeah, all applications were evaluated and scored by our panel of reviewers as well as by DOE staff. The applications which were selected provided the most comprehensive response to the criteria and to the questions as we had set out. We found their narratives and their proposed training plans to be compelling. So that's why they were selected as winners. Not to say that there were not other, good ideas and good applications out there. The 2 that were selected, we felt were the ones that were most worthy of selection.
Great. We had a question come in. Are we allowed to use anyone on this team as a reference or point of contact so that city officials or business organizations they're working with can verify this is an actually funded project?
I would say you could also refer to the DOE CETO website. Upskill is listed there. That is an official federal website, and it is one of the funding opportunities on that page if you're looking for the most legitimate spot to point to. Tim or Jen, if you have anything to add there.
No, I think that covers it.
Thanks. Are there specific geographical regions that we're focused on that we're focusing on when considering applications?
Broadly, I will say no, it was purely coincidental. If there were correlations related to geography with the first batch of winning teams, we are interested in, as long as they're US based, manufacturers, like stated before, from across the country. Yeah, I think that's all I have on that, but Tim or Rebecca, feel free to jump in if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, I guess I would add that you can find the two winning manufacturers on the Hero X page. The two teams that won in round one, Louisiana First Solar Force, which was a collaboration between the University of Louisiana Lafayette and First Solar, and the Training and Solar Manufacturing team, which was a collaboration between Crossroads Solar Enterprise and the Purdue University Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Those were the two winners from round one.
All right, we have no more questions right now, but again, I think we can leave this open for another minute or two in case others are typing questions or have thoughts come up. Okay, we just got a question. Can we develop a new manufacturing facility as part of this prize?
I can start with that. I'd say absolutely. I think that's part of the motivation behind this prize, like Tim had discussed, was a lot of the new manufacturing facilities that are coming online due to the Inflation Reduction Act and other expansions in solar manufacturing in the United States. I think, as you will see in the rules for newer manufacturing facilities that maybe aren't yet online, I think making sure you're carefully answering the questions in the narrative that refer to new facilities to, again, make as strong of an application indicating that that manufacturing facility will be brought online. But in short answer to your question is definitely yes.
Thanks, Jen. Is there a good source to find out which solar manufacturers may exist in our state?
Yeah, I mentioned it briefly, but I'll put it link to it in the chat as well. CEDO maintains a solar manufacturing map, which lists current and announced manufacturing facilities across the country. We maintain that list as a public service for folks. That would, I think, be the best place to find information on solar manufacturers may exist in your state.
Thanks, Tim. That's a great resource. All right, we have about 10 minutes left if anyone has remaining questions. Otherwise, I will also point everyone to check out the chat. Stacy and our team has been sharing a lot of links to important resources, so definitely make sure you check out all of those. Otherwise, Rebecca, Jen, Tim, any closing thoughts?
I'm happy to close us out. If you do have any questions following this call, please send them to that upskill.prize@nrel.gov. Alternatively, you can reach out to ADL Ventures. I realize their email isn't on here, but that's just upskill@adlventures.com. And they can provide application assistance. They can help with matchmaking if you need, like maybe you need a connection with one of those manufacturers in another state. They are there to help with that. And yeah, reach out with questions. We want to see you succeed. Refer to all of those different resources and make sure you read the rules. And I will leave it at that. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. And if anyone has any other questions, be sure to send them through.